Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. Rumor, Dmitry Bivol, David Benavidez close to finalizing deal for summer fight. Dmitry Bivol and David Benavidez are reportedly on the verge of finalizing a deal that would see the pair square off in a huge light heavyweight title bout this summer. Both Bivol and Benavidez are coming off huge victories, with the Russian beating Artur Beterbiev for the ring and undisputed 175-pound titles last month, and the Mexican-American defeating David Morrell on points a few weeks earlier. Now they look set to face off with Bivol's promoters Matchroom and Premier Boxing champions who represent Benavidez close to reaching a deal, according to ESPN Knockouts' Julius Julianus. Interesting name. Now, this would surprise me, to be honest, because we saw the other day Turki Alalshikh issue what I interpreted to be kind of like a veiled threat towards Dmitry Bivol, telling him, look, you can go ahead with the purse bid or go ahead with that David Benavidez fight, but I'm not going to be involved in it. And if you do choose to go down that road, don't come back this way looking for, let's say, a Artur Beterbiev trilogy fight afterwards, because that boat may have sailed. That was my interpretation of Turki Alalshikh's comments. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that's what I got from it. I also said in that video that perhaps it's possible, in light of Turkey teaming up with Dana White to launch this new boxing league, that Matchroom and maybe even Frank Warren, Queensbury, start to say to themselves, you know what? Let's not play ball with Turkey so much now, since he's going to go off with Dana White. Let's start doing our own thing again in case we get cut off. And I put forth the possibility that Eddie Hearn might say, you know what, yeah, let's not listen to Turkey. Let's go ahead and do this Dmitry Bivol, David Benavidez fight, regardless of what Turkey wants us to do. Is that what's happening here? Is Eddie Hearn saying, okay, well, if I'm not going to be part of this Saudi thing anymore, or we're going to be sidelined or not get the same kind of funding for our shows with the Saudis moving forward, then why are we going to be so loyal? Why are we going to bow to Turki Alalshikh, literally, but also figuratively speaking? Let's go off and do our own thing. Let's make this fight here. Whatever the case may be, I hope this fight actually does happen. I would much prefer to see this fight next than an Artur Beterbiev trilogy match. I think, in the minority in believing that David Benavidez has a very good chance against Dmitry Bivol. People are thinking that David Benavidez isn't as good as Artur Beterbiev. He wouldn't beat Beterbiev. Maybe he wouldn't. But styles make fights, folks. Styles make fights. Boxing is not checkers, it's chess. It's rock, paper, scissors. And I think that David Benavidez has improved massively over the past few years. Yes, I know that he was a sparring partner for Dmitry Bivol back in the days. Rumor has it that Bivol dropped him badly and all this type of stuff. I get all that. But with the improvements that I see in Benavidez, with the youth, with the extra strength moving up to 175 pounds, he's tightened up his defense as far as I'm concerned. He's got good power. He's got good hand speed. He throws a lot of shots. He applies a lot of pressure. I think this is a difficult fight for Dmitry Bivol. David Benavidez might not be as heavy-handed at 175 as Artur Beterbiev is. Might not be as physically strong. But I tell you something, he throws a lot more punches than Artur Beterbiev, and he's a lot faster. And he's got a very good jab that people maybe underrate a little bit. He's a good body puncher, goes well upstairs as well. So it's a fight I like. The winner of this fight can then go on to fight Artur Beterbiev, because let's be real, there isn't that much at 175 pounds right now by way of world-level talent. There's basically the two elite guys in Bivol and Beterbiev, David Benavidez, and not much else. We saw Joshua Buatsi's level. Callum Smith has already been dealt with by Artur Beterbiev. And, either of those guys against Bivol is decent, right? Because, again, styles make fights. But either of those guys against Beterbiev, we saw what happened to Callum Smith. And I can't imagine Joshua Buatsi would fare much better against Artur Beterbiev. So, yeah, you've got like some domestic light heavyweights in the UK who could fight each other in interesting matchups. Anthony Yard in the mix against Joshua Buatsi and so on. Even Anthony Yard against Callum Smith. But as far as the world level guys, my view is that there's basically just three who are competitive against each other. Outside of that, I don't really see anyone getting a look in. I could be wrong. Maybe somebody comes from out the blue and surprises us, but that's my perception right now. So I would like to see David Benavidez fight Dmitry Bivol next. He is the mandatory challenger with the WBC, and if they can't come to terms, the two sides, it will go to a purse bid. Turkey's already said he won't bid on the fight, so it'll be up to Matchroom to stump up the money from their DAZN budget, because that's primarily where promoters get their money from, traditionally, is from broadcasters. But of course, Turkey has changed the game because he's basically paying site fees like the casinos in Vegas used to do way back in the days. They would pay promoters site fees. So rather than you having to hire out a venue to host a boxing show, back in the days, casinos would pay the promoter to put a big show on there. And the idea was that they used to call it the drop, which was the extra foot flow through the doors into the casino would more than make up for the money they're paying the promoter to put on the show. And obviously they get a cut from, I guess, ticket sales and maybe pay-per-view, I'm not sure. But yeah, the casinos would actually pay you to put fights on. And that is what the Saudis are doing these days. They're paying site fees, okay? But site fees aside, very rarely over the past 20 years have site fees been paid for big fights. It's done through TV companies fronting up the money. And that's why pay-per-views have become so ubiquitous almost in boxing, because that's the economic model. Yeah, the TV company put the money up to pay the fighters a certain guarantee, give the promoters money to put the show on, hire out venues, etc., etc., etc. And then when the pay-per-view revenue comes in and the ticket sales come in, the TV take their cut. It's often like 50% that the TV network will take. Okay, so it will be a traditional boxing model from an economic perspective if Matchroom go ahead and make this fight between Dmitry Bivol and David Benavidez without Turkey's involvement. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. And let me know what you think about the potential move here by Eddie Hearn to almost preempt what's going to happen with this boxing league, what he thinks might happen with this boxing league, by trying to be more independent again and organize shows and fights and whatnot without Turkey's involvement, perhaps even against Turkey's wishes. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. Are you surrounded by mindless bots in human form who adhere to the norm and blindly conform, who swallow all the mainstream BS and actually ridicule you for questioning things? Do you wish you had more free-thinking individuals in your life to network and converse with? Well, look no further. We're right here. Come and join the Brotherhood of Reason on Patreon. You'll gain access to my weekly topical content where we take deep dives on an endless variety of subjects, as well as my vast back catalogue of podcasts, videos, interviews, movie decodings, and my Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You'll also get to talk and network with myself and hundreds of other people in our members chat. You can enjoy all this via the Patreon app or on desktop and download all my podcasts in high-quality MP3. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store, or simply visit patreon.com on a web browser. Then head on over to my page and select the tier called the Brotherhood of Reason. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android, because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.